Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Work at Home Rockstar podcast. Excited for today's guest. She's a certified hypnotherapist and law of attraction coach. And what she does is she helps people to manifest their dreams and goals using the power of their mind and the law of attraction. Very excited. This is going to be a really cool interview. So we're rocking out today with Victoria Gallagher. Victoria, you ready to rock?
I am ready to rock. Yes.
Perfect. So we always start off here on a good note. So tell me a story of success that we can be inspired by.
Yeah. So let's see. Let's talk about just my own success in using the law of attraction actually recently to buy my dream home that I'm sitting in right now. So I've always, as many people do, want to buy their dream home. And I had this idea in my head years ago that it had to be my dream home had to be $1 million. It had to be $1 million home with a pool in the backyard and all of these things. And so I had pretty much decided exactly like what that house would entail, like how many bedrooms, how many stories, how many bathrooms, how many square feet it would be, all of the things. And so a few years ago when it was COVID, just kind of like out of the blue, like we were not even thinking, like it was always like this thing in the back of our heads that we're getting ready to get ready. And it was going to be about, 6 months. It was always about 6 months away. We're going to be ready. And so what happened was we got like sort of a bit of bad news from our, our landlord that we were renting a house from. And he said that, he lost his job. This was during COVID. He was living in Colorado and he had to come back to Arizona, and he needed his house back. And he gave us very little notice that, we were basically going to be kicked out when our lease was up. And we had about 4 months. We were going to have about 4 months, and we didn't know exactly what we were going to do. And so we just sort of took that as a sign from the universe that maybe it's time to go ahead and get that dream house. Now, here's the thing. Obviously, at that time, we weren't in a position to afford $1 million house, but everything that I used in my description of what $1 million house was, we came across. And it's a 5 bedroom house plus an office, four bathrooms. It's 3,500 square feet. It's like huge. I mean, we don't have a pool in the backyard, but there's like plenty of room for like two pools. I mean, it's pretty crazy. And so we within less than 2 months from that moment, we took a really bad situation and turned it into an amazing situation. We were able to take advantage of the super low interest rates at the time. I mean, it was like we locked in like 2.85%
Wow.
interest rates, which, like if we were to try, I mean, the whole point is like if we were even like 6 months later, like when we were thinking we were going to be ready, we would not be able to afford this house because it shot up like about, 50% in price after we bought it. And on top of that, interest rates shot up. So, I mean, like the the monthly payments on this house would have been completely undoable for us if we had waited till we thought we were ready. So the point is, it's like success. Sometimes it just kind of sneaks up on you when you least expect it. And you have to be able to take those moments where it feels like there's an obstacle or a challenge and look at how can I turn this into a success? And so I feel like we'd completely turn that into a success story.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. And you know what? Then the next thing I always talk about is the bad note because there's always things that don't go as planned, and it sounds to me like that's wrapped right in there. You
Yeah.
don't see it as a negative thing, right?
Exactly. Like, it's really hard for me to see things as a bad thing. I mean, like, with my app we were just talking about, I mean, there's been a lot of really bad things. For one, I mean, the app that I currently have, the whole reason why I'm developing this new app is, it's got some problems. I get, a few bad reviews every once in a while because it's just been kind of falling apart. But if that app wasn't like falling apart, it wouldn't have propelled me to develop this really amazing dream app. Also, if it wasn't for the fact that I had developers, if it wasn't for the fact that I had these developers that completely underestimated what they thought was going to go into this app, I'm getting so much more app for the money than I than I ever thought I would have had, than I would have paid for,
Yeah.
eventually, so it's like, I'll it's all perspective. Like, everything that ever happens to you, any of the bad stuff, there's always some silver lining that you can turn that into. And so that's happening as well.
Yeah. No, it's true because there's always good and bad in every situation, right? And it just depends on what you want to look at, right? Because there are people that continuously look at bad in good situations, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they'll look at the bad in their relationships, or they'll, and when you start to actually focus on like what's going right, you notice more of that. And that's how the whole law of attraction works. It's not necessarily like this magical thing. It's just that the opportunities are always around you. It's just that your brain is really trained to see whatever it is that you're focused on. And so when you change and shift your focus to the things that you want to see, you're going to start to see more of what you want to see.
Yeah, yeah. And maybe there is some magic too, though. But
There is, and I always caution, like, I guess, there's magic. I just don't like to, like, rely on only the magic. Like, I believe, we're responsible for probably about 85 to 90% of the whole, package of what we're creating. And then when we are bringing ourselves that much to the table, I do believe that that's when, it's kinda like the quote about commitment, then providence moves too, and all kinds of events, unfold that you would have never imagined, and that's where I do believe there is a little magic, but it's not all magic.
no.
There's some magic for sure.
Well, and I think that my definition of magic would be things that we haven't figured out how it really works yet. It probably isn't magic, but we just don't have the tools to measure it and to figure out exactly what's going on yet, so we call it magic. Because I'm
Yeah,
sure that, maybe 30, 40, 50 years ago, we would have considered talking on a screen to someone in another country to be magic because we couldn't,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
But somebody envisioned it in their head, and eventually it happened, and now it's happening, and nobody thinks it's magic. Well, I don't know. I still do think it's kind of magic, but there is some science behind it to explain how it's happening.
It is pretty magical. I mean, if we were to and try to envision this 20 years ago, this would really seem like pretty far-fetched that you could be, speaking to somebody on a box in your house
Yep, yep,
and actually see them in live time. I mean, it used to blow my mind way back in the day. This was like, I guess maybe the late 80s, the first time you could actually chat with somebody on a what was like a I can't even remember. It was like before there were actually websites. There were they weren't even forums. What were they? BBS systems. They're called BBS bulletin board systems.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And I remember the very first time I saw, like, somebody actually, like, typing in live time. I'm like, "Whoa, that was so mind-blowing."
Yeah. Yeah, it sure was. Well, I used to work for a telecommunications company that we used to build, um, basically software for the internet
Mm.
and switches, like hardware for the internet as well. And I remember there was talks back then, and this would have been early 2000s, about video conferencing. And it was starting to be something that we were talking about because we were building basically the backbone networks to be able to deliver this video conferencing. And it didn't go at the time. The company ended up going bankrupt eventually because they were way ahead of their time. Nobody even thought about anything like that at that time. They were like, "What? Why would I want what? What? Why would I?"
That's
And at the time, remember, phones were like still like you still had to pick up your phone and it was attached. No one could think about like looking. What do you mean? I don't understand what you mean by this. They're like, no, 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 no. Eventually, it's gonna get there. Believe me, buy it.
right? That's
No,
crazy.
it's funny. But now okay, so now you have a new house, and so, I wanna talk about the jam room. So the jam room is basically your home office. Tell me about how you set it up.
Yeah, okay. So, basically, let me well, I wanna I don't know if your, listeners if you have them on video, but I actually wanna show you. So I have all of there's like 1,000 of these little
That is so
tiles
cool.
throughout, and I went through before I actually installed these things, I went through so many like, I even had, like, my graphic designer, like, try to come up with these, little designs on how it was gonna be patterned, and, after I was in here, and I just kept rearranging and rearranging and rearranging, and finally, it just occurred to me just to actually just put them up with my intuition, and there's, like, and then, like, one fell down out of the whole pattern, and I'm like, "Ooh, that actually looks cool to have, like, a few little missing pieces." And so it just kinda came together, like, I was not really enjoying it when I first got these, like, "This is not looking as cool as I thought it was going to." But once I just kinda so anyway, so we've got that going on. I've got my beautiful, what do you call this, Mike? This Shure SMB7.
Nice.
Before that, I used to work with I actually, one of my, long time ago ex-boyfriends owned a recording studio. And that's where I made my first hypnosis recording. So I was kind of lucky, just like your wife is a graphic designer. My ex-husband was a graphic designer, and my ex-boyfriend, both at the same time when I was starting in this business, he was had a recording studio. So it was like I had sort of the world handed to me on a silver platter to like start this business. But anyway, so my very first mic was the Rode N1. What is it? Rode N1. You're in the music business.
Oh, there's so many options.
Yeah, I know.
Hi, my name is Anik Malaf. I'm from Mastering Ascension, and I've been working with Tim Melanson and the Creative Crew Agency for a number of years now. Tim is my go-to guy for all things technology, and his team have helped me to really create the platform that I need that represents my brand, my message, and connects me directly to my ideal clients. What I particularly love about Tim is before he starts to dive into the technology, he always makes sure that he understands what your global view is, what your ultimate goals are. So then that way you're not wasting a lot of time back and forth switching around technology or platforms. He creates something from the get-go that is scalable, which is highly beneficial for any business. What I've experienced from Tim and his team is they're highly responsive. They are a wealth of information, and they're going to offer you the tools that you need to really make the mark that you want to make in the world. So that's my recommendation for Tim. He's awesome. You're going to love every minute. You won't regret it.
I've been through 2 Blue Yetis, and then I was training a lot of hypnotherapists on how to make, um, passive profit and prosperity. I have a course online about that. And so I was teaching and I talk about my, all my equipment and everything. So it was the Blue Yeti. And I probably should have signed up for an affiliate program because I sold so many of those Blue Yeti mics. And then all of a sudden in this last year, I guess it's been maybe a year and a half, I've been with this mic, which is amazing. I mean, there can actually be a little bit of noise in the house, and it just blocks it out. And I've got
Okay,
my
yeah.
focus right. I've got my adjustable desk, and obviously my books behind me. I've got my ring light in front of me. Beautiful chandelier with a chandelier thing above me. So this is like the space, one of the many in this house, but I also have my meditation room. But this is a space that, like, when I come in here, it's just like, oh my God, this is my happy place. I just absolutely love the way it looks, the way it feels, the way it sounds. Come in here, it's all quiet. So this is my jam room where I make all my 1,000 hypnosis recordings.
And that's just it. You have to feel that way when you go into your office, into your jam room, right? Otherwise, how can you be inspired, right?
Exactly. This was the most important because, yeah, this is the money-making room. I mean, this is where the magic happens. This is where, I make the magic in here, right in here, that, is in my app that's, that is transforming people's lives. This is where I do my coaching. And so this was really I spent so much time really thinking about this room and making it exactly what it is, and I love it.
Love it. Right on. So now you've mentioned a few contacts that you have. It sounds like you're pretty good at building a band and getting the right people around you. So can you give us
Yeah.
any tips on how you find good people to work with you?
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, since the beginning of time, used to be, what was it? It was Elance, before it became Upwork. And so I literally just use freelancers, for the vast majority of the work that I do. And, these are people like my graphic designer that I have now, Michelle, she's in the Philippines, and we've been working together. She designed all my book covers. She's designed so many pieces of marketing materials and product covers and everything for me. She's in the Philippines. And and I anytime I need anything done, I just, I usually have a tendency to, just find people pretty easily on Upwork. My app developers that I'm working with now, that was like they sort of came to me through a post that I had made on Facebook. I guess sometimes developers will like sort of scan the internet or
Yep.
this scan social media, and I was like, I'm looking for I'm looking for an app developer. I just kind of thought my friends might know someone, but no, I got a whole bunch of app developers that reached out to me that way. So that, kind of turned out to be a pretty good way to go about it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, definitely, I think social media is super useful for finding people because you do get connections of connections oftentimes. Sometimes you
Hmm.
don't,
Yeah.
but it's way easier if somebody that you know knows somebody, right? Because then you can vet them.
Absolutely. And, when I have a good person, I share. I don't like to, share too much, but, like I've shared like, so many people have used, like people that have edited my books and, done the graphics for my books. And, so anytime I find someone good, I just like to you know, the, pass the wealth along because it can be hard sometimes, to find the right, people.
Yep.
And, but it's like no one's an island. I mean, we all need people. I happened to just see a Quora thing the other day. Somebody was, um, saying something along the lines of like, how do I, um, how do I make money or start a business if I hate people? I'm like thinking to myself, like, I'm not even touching that with a 10-foot pole, but you
Wow.
can't, you will
No.
not you will not succeed if you hate people. It's just, you need people. You need people to buy your products, to pay you for your service. I mean, who do you think the money comes from?
Yeah, yeah, like,
You know?
I can't imagine you building it if it's your own business, I can't imagine it because there's a bit of sales and customer service that happens. I think the only way you could do it is if you, like, hooked up with somebody who was, like, the salesperson, and you could be the, heads down worker bee guy, but that would be a partnership, it wouldn't be your own business. I can't see
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Exactly, and then on top of that, though, it's just like the whole idea, the whole law of attraction thing. I mean, if you really hate people, I mean, I could be taking that a little too literally, what they said, but, it's like every every service or product that you sell, I mean, it's a person at the end that's going to be using that, and and you're really looking to make a difference in somebody's life. It's whatever your business is, whether you're a doctor, lawyer, or selling widgets. I mean, you're ultimately about making somebody's problems go away.
Go away. Yeah, exactly. Business is about solving problems. And if you hate people, then why would you help them? It's really a selfish way to go about things, right?
It really is. It really is.
Yeah. I'm guessing that it was sort of a tongue-in-cheek joke, but it might not
Yeah.
have been.
I happened to see it. It was like Quora, like every once in a while, Quora just sends me an email. It's like, answer this question. It's like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
Not answering that one.
So now, what about getting into like gathering fans? So, I mean, nowadays, with social media, like you say, there's so many people out there. The audience is there, but
Mhm.
but is there a difference between an audience and fans, and how do you convert them?
I think it really starts personally with knowing who you want to reach, like knowing who your target audience is. I mean, that was one of the things that, especially being a hypnotherapist that can solve many different kinds of problems for people, from headaches uh, to stress, to anxiety, to weight, to smoking. I can do it all. And when I was trying to do it all, I found that the more I did, the less I received. And so it to me, it's so ultra important for people to know who do you want to reach. Even if you're a musician, like are you trying to reach, 60-year-old retirees? Or are you trying to reach, little girls in high school? Are you trying to reach, the millennials? Like, who are you ultimately targeting? And so for me, I find that where you look is not as important, like, as who you're looking for. When you figure out who you're looking for, then you know where to look because then you know where are those people hanging out. People that are like my age, in their 50s or whatever, a little bit more Facebook oriented, Instagram oriented. Younger, people are, going to be a little bit more on TikTok, and definitely social media is a wonderful, wonderful way to. I mean, it's like necessity to promote yourself, but it's like I'm beating a dead horse. It's about who you're going after.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, yeah, using the music analogy, it's like imagine if somebody put out an album and well, they don't do albums anymore. Back in the day, when they put out an album, if they put in an album and every song was of a different genre, it starts off with a
Mhm.
country song, then there's a metal song, and then like it just wouldn't make any sense. Like, nobody would love that album because there would be so many different genres. It kind of gets confusing to the audience. Like, who are you, right?
Exactly. You're casting a wide net, like, you might find somebody who likes the one song, and then they might buy that one song, but they're certainly not gonna buy that album, and because it's like it's only that one song is speaking to them.
And because of how the world works, the social media works, if someone sees something that they don't like, there's always a button that says see less of this. And so,
Hmm.
if you're sort of like, you've got something that you're really good at and you're doing it, and then all of a sudden you decide you want to do something else, well, now they're seeing something they don't want anymore. And they can just unfollow you or unsubscribe. And next thing you know, you've just lost your audience, right?
Yes, yes. Oh, that's so, yeah, that's so important just to be, being consistent and being in integrity with like who you are and who you serve and what kind of problems you solve. And, it really, to me, it's a simple equation when you really get to know yourself, because I think so many people that are our target audiences are like mirror in a lot of ways, they're mirrors of ourselves. People that are where we used to be at one point that we can relate to. We've already been there, done that. We've already solved that problem. Now we can help other people to solve that same problem. Or, we love that particular kind of music. So we make that kind of, music. Or we love a particular kind of art. So we make that kind of art.
Hmm.
And um I didn't used to be an artist. Now all of a sudden, since Midjourney's around, now I'm an artist.
Awesome. No, I think that's really insightful the way that you look at it too. Yeah, exactly it. We are basically promoting to a younger version of ourselves, right?
Yes,
And
100%.
so oftentimes you've got to sort of look at it from that perspective of like, what would you have been looking for, 20 years ago? And
Yeah.
what would you have connected with?
Yeah, and that's how you connect with people, because people usually connect to you through your story and through like most people aren't not necessarily going to connect with you. It's like on the superficial level of like, oh, I can sell you this, it works great. No, they usually connect to you through some kind of a story, like a relatable story that says, I feel your pain. I've been there too. This is how I overcame it. And I can show you how to do this. And I've packaged it up to make it much easier. So you don't have to spend 10 years doing it. You can do it in 6 months.
Love it. Okay, so it's time for your guest solo. So tell me what's exciting in your business.
Oh my God. So, obviously, it's my app. So I have this new app. It's a hypnosis, meditation, affirmation app. And the name of the app is called Believe Hypnosis. And the app is just about done. Like as we're having this conversation, I know it's January. We're going to be releasing this in May. So
Mhm.
by that point in time, many, many people will have this app on their phones. And it has right now about over 1,000 hypnosis and meditation recordings. This is my life's work that I started back in 1999. And, I just keep getting better and better. But it has a bunch of other goodies that are not available on my other apps, like a meditation timer, silent meditation timer, sends you reminders. It just we'll be having, maybe by the time this releases, we'll be having live events. So it's pretty cool. You can create playlists, favorites, downloads. It just does everything you can imagine. So it's an amazing
Wow,
app. I'm super excited about it.
that's awesome. Partying like it's 1999.
For sure. Definitely,
So,
definitely. I'm super excited.
so how do we find out more? I mean, we probably go to the App Store, but do you have like a website or anything like that? We can find out more information about you. How do we find you?
Yeah, my website is victoriamgallagher.com. And there I will have all kinds of information about, the books I've written, coaching, my app, any events that I might have coming up. I have a podcast also called Power of Your Mind. And yeah, go check out the website and download the app and read Practical Law of Attraction and change your life for the better.
Awesome. Thank you so much for rocking out with me today, Victoria. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tim. This has been great.
Cool. And to the listeners, make sure you subscribe, rate, and comment, and we'll see you next time on the Work at Home Rockstar podcast.